what you're going to end up with is you're going to have your same key fob. It's going to look the same, except this button, you can push it, nothing will ever happen. Okay? Unless you reverse the procedure. And the procedure I'm going to give you is reversible, fully reversible. One of the problems, however, and you can get into your trunk. Here's how you're going to get into your trunk. You're just going to have this with you, okay? It's got the radio frequency, near proximity. You touch it just like you always would, or use your leg. All that still works. So if you have the key, you can get into your trunk. But if you're not expecting to get into your trunk, you will not get that trunk open. That's the goal. No false fires. Okay. I learned something, which is why I'm making this video, so that you don't have to learn the hard way. First off, think about if you've got $20 or $30 to spend getting a used key fob. Okay, and the reason you don't have to do that, but the reason I say that is that, well, I started on my original key fob, and I hesitate to show it to you because I went through some iterations. It wasn't as pristine and good a job, frankly, as the second time around. So you kind of got a couple of options there at your disposal. Option one, just go ahead and spend the $30 now on eBay, get the nicest, prettiest, same model. It needs to be exactly the same size key fob as fit your car, and experiment with that. Maybe even just get it done and don't impact your OEM key, right? That's my recommendation. If you don't want to do that and you just want to go for your own key, that's totally fine too. You can always, get a new key. You're not going to damage the inside if you do this right. You're potentially, though, could damage the case, and I'll show you how. When in fact, if you look at this, I have had this apart, completely apart, okay, before. And it looks actually pretty nice, almost seamless, like it was meant, like it came from the factory. Now this one is the redo. When I realized I'd already, so the reason this is missing that button is I thought that might work, because these are harder than heck to get apart. Go see a video on that. I'm not going to cover it, but it does require, and I didn't believe it for the longest time, because you don't want to have to do this. So, in order to get this apart, there's a few things you're going to have to do. But please look on YouTube. There's other videos. Once you do, you'll see the circuit board. And each one of these four features essentially maps to one of the four buttons on this circuit board. Okay, so what you're going to do is, you see that one is the one that's under this trunk release button. So all you need to do is get a little pair of needle nose pliers, smaller than this if you have it, and you go in there and you squeeze that little button and pull it right out. It'll pull out, and it's really easy to lose it. So kind of amazing. It can go back in, so if you want to keep it, that's great. But at that point, all your work in modifying is really done. At that point, you need to put everything back. There are contact points here, so which you'll be aware of, and you'll need to make sure you've got it in the right contacts. That's going to be fairly self-explanatory. Right. And you're going to want to glue it. Now, what kind of glue? Well, I think I just had something lying around, some sort of contact cement that works well with plastic. Before you do use glue on this, you're going to need glue. If you try to snap it back, it'll just fall apart later. what I did to avoid getting glue on the case and having it disfigured, I first carefully used masking tape and taped off around, actually when it was open, the edges of this right to the edge, so that it protected the entire, both sides case while I was working with glue inside and on this rim here. Do all the sides of the rim.